Well, it's wonderful to see all of you who are here with us as we come together on this fourth Sunday of Advent. You know, a while ago, Tess and I were trying to watch a movie, and we were looking at which movie we should watch, and decided that we were going to watch Pearl Harbor. Now, I had seen that as a movie about 20 years ago, I guess it was out, and had watched it at that time. And Tess had seen little snippets of it, but we sat down about a week ago and just watched it through again. An incredibly powerful movie, just telling us some of the story of what had taken place. Of course, what we had was the invasion of Japan into that naval area in Pearl Harbor. And there was this incredible destruction of 19 ships and 2,500 people. Unknown, unexpected, and it happened. And there you saw the people struggling with all of those issues. And of course, it focused in the movie, and I won't go through all the story of it, but there were two of the men who were pilots and one woman who was a nurse. And the struggle that they went through in terms of friendship, in terms of hurt, in terms of brokenness, in terms of coming together, in terms of loss, in terms of death, and in the end, also the gift of a child to be born. Here am I, God with us. In Gaza, we know what's taking place. There was a mother who recently said, "There are no children in Gaza. There are only souls with miniature bodies." From the moment of birth, there is an expectation of death. And that's what the people have to live with. There was a 6-year-old girl, there is a 6-year-old girl, Susie. And with the bombings that took place, she lost her mother and her 4 siblings. And they worked for 7 hours to try to recover her. And eventually, through all of the destroyed buildings around her, they managed to pull out her body, and she was alive, and they took her to the hospital. And she lay there, and several hours later, her father was brought in and put in the bed right next to her. And her father just wept and said, "I am so, so sorry. I could hear you crying for me, and I couldn't do anything." And here they were together. Here am I, God with us. In the Ukraine, there is a town, Lviv. And they're a young medical couple, both of them physicians. One of their mothers was an architect and had developed this incredible home for them. Simple, but it was something for them to look forward to, with the possibility of children in the future. And this home was built. And then it was destroyed. The husband was then called up to serve his country, and she was left. And there she was in this small, tiny little room, all on her own, no family, but pregnant. And she was waiting. But what was she waiting for? She didn't know. But there she was with child. Here am I, God with us. And then, of course, in Israel, in that kibbutz, there was an engineer and his family. and he had his wife and 2 daughters. And that shooting began all around them. And he went downstairs to the basement with his wife and 2 children. They could hear it, and he had a little infrared light that he gave them some sort of light, an indication of where they were. But he said, we had to be totally silent. We couldn't say anything. And he said, our daughter is autistic, and for her there wasn't a sense of silence. She was wanting to talk and ask questions. And he said, I just put my hand over her mouth and just held it close. And he said, I thought at times of just holding it so much that she would lose consciousness. And then we would be safe, all of us. But he said, I just couldn't bring myself around to doing that. Here am I, God with us. Not far from that place in Israel. At another time, another young woman heard the voice of God through an angel. She was anticipating a marriage. She was engaged. She had a future. And this angel came to her and said, you are bearing God's son. And her life was changed. The next thing, she and her fiancé would be venturing out on this long road to who knows really where. Where would they stay? Where would the child be born? Here am I. God is with us. God is with us not so much in the singing angels and in that incredible star, but in the flesh and the blood, in the soiling and the crying, in the being with the mother. God with us, here and now, flesh and blood, bread and wine. This is our time. Amen.